So Easter is a Christian holiday that celebrates the resurrection of Jesus Christ. It symbolizes renewal and rebirth. It's a time to reflect and also restore. Easter reminding us that it's never too late, basically, to try again. And that's the part we are focusing on today. When we find ourselves stuck in a difficult place, how can we find the strength and motivation to move through it, to try again? Life coach Tiffany Peterson is here to give us direction. It's great to see you.
So fun to see you, love.
Why do you think this message of Easter, renewal, rebirth, why is that important for the everyday busy woman to remember?
I love this topic, right? And I love this season of spring, and it is that vivacious, like recommitment, renewal, rebirth, resurrection, right? This season of time life is cyclical. Life is a lot like nature, right? Where we go through different seasons, and there's certain seasons where we're feeling really good, we're feeling really motivated, in the flow, like making things happen. And then as the human experience, we also have seasons where we're like, I'm stuck, I'm frustrated, I'm burnt out, I'm discouraged, I'm unmotivated. That's just part of being human. And so I love revisiting this one any time of the year, is because it's so normal, right? For all of us.
It's normal, and that pendulum swing that you described can happen in a single week. I mean, there can be one day where you're feeling in the flow, as you said,
right?
and snappy and peppy, and then the next day, the responsibilities or the trials or the burdens of life can hit you hard. You have 5 things, Tiff, you want us to remember next time we are feeling stuck or we're feeling burned out, as you described, that will help us try again. First, this idea that we have to normalize it. And you described that so well, that this is just part of the human experience, part of the cycle.
I think the power in normalizing something is when you normalize it, you neutralize it. And meaning that, you know, we all have, like you said, all these various thoughts and feelings and emotions, and we can even in one day feel like from the highs and the lows and the highs and the lows, that's so normal. And so as we have that seasonally or in our day, in our week, is when we normalize it to say, you know what, Brooke, you still get to be human. I get to be human. Anyone watching, they also get to be human. And that this is just part of being human, is that there's the same side of the same coin, is like the blessing and a burden. They come together. And it's the mess and the breakthrough, all of it. And so again, when we normalize it, that this is just part of being human, then I think, again, we take the potency of the emotion out of it. And it's a little, I think it's much easier to pass. And I think it helps just kind of more calming invitation, because it's not so, oh my gosh.
So big. I love how you said takes the potency out of the emotion, and maybe a secondary undercurrent too is it sort of snaps us out of victim mode, which I think is really easy to slide into that place of mind. It is for me anyway. When you're feeling stuck or discouraged, it's like, it's just me, poor me. You know what I mean? It's easy to slip into that place, but if we're normalizing it, it's part of everyone's experience, then I have a little bit, I don't know, stronger motivation to help move forward.
For sure. It's that it gives you that ability to just, again, kind of bring it back home. And it's more like, oh, okay, this is part of it.
I can do this. I can do this. It's temporary. You want us to remember that these feelings of stuckness or being burned out, temporary. It will pass.
I don't know if you've noticed, but we've had a little bit of a longer winter than what feels like normal.
Is that what it is? Okay. Is that why I'm freezing?
I mean, I don't know if anyone else has noticed this. 6 months of winter. But when we know that it is temporary, this too shall pass. That the emotion is temporary, the season is temporary, right? The challenge is temporary, the high is temporary too, is that is, again, just part of the cyclical nature of living. And again, when we normalize that, bring it back home, oh, this too shall pass, this is temporary. Yeah.
I don't want to make light of anyone's heavy burdens, but it takes me to that everyday moment on the treadmill where you're like, I can do it for a minute. Like, I can do anything for a minute. You have to almost kind of set the sprint in your human mind and think there is relief around the corner, whatever that
There is spring coming someday.
Apparently. Allegedly, there will be sunshine.
Signs are coming.
That will melt the snow. As we talk about, like, you know, the discouragement of the human spirit, you say we can't neglect the topic of self-care, nourishing and nurturing our spirit and ourselves in a way that we can show up as our best self.
I don't know, am I ever going to be on a segment where I don't plug self-care, right?
Tell me how you really feel.
But it's just so true, is that, again, I don't know about you, but sometimes what I need is just a good nap and a good snack. And it makes my life, I mean, we're still like just kids with longer legs. Some of us not much longer legs. But when you think about it, is good self-care, is take your rest and your nourishment, your hydration. And am I moving my body? And am I taking time to do the things that help my mind, my meditation, or journaling, the various things, whatever self-care, it's a variety of things, right? But it's really taking time to nourish yourself. And that for me is the discernment, is what nourishes me. Nourishment is different than consumption. Whether it's something we're eating physically, we're consuming mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and that we're doing things regularly that nourish us, that's a very grounding practice. And that helps with all the busyness, all the noise, all the fear, stress, frustration, the anxiousness we might be feeling at times, or just, again, that stuck feeling.
That's a brilliant question. Am I nourishing or am I consuming? They're
Yes.
two different.
That helps me with my self-care, is because sometimes I'm just doing some numbing out, nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
But it's like, is this self-care or is this avoidance? And so the discernment is, does this nourish me? And if it's nourishing me, it's like, ooh, this is so good for me. And it helps me navigate all this humanness.
You mentioned meditation. What role does meditation, or for some people of faith, prayer, have in the ability to get us unstuck?
I love this one. And again, to your point, however you connect to it, I love both prayer and meditation, right? Is being in communion with your higher power, and whatever you call that. But taking time to pray or to meditate, some people do that on a walk, some people do that on their meditation pillow or on their knees in prayer. But what's happening there, whatever way you practice it, is you're coming into quiet. And sometimes, Brooke, I don't know about you, but what's really up for me is I just need less noise and I need more quiet. And then for me in prayer and meditation, I often like to ask one of the two following questions. I like to ask, like, what's this here to teach me? When a trial or adversity is up in our lives, or we're just feeling stuck or frustrated, sometimes I have an awareness come up, sometimes I don't, but what's this here to teach me? Or sometimes I like to ask the question, what's my next right step? Again, if you're feeling stuck or you're feeling overwhelmed by something, what's just my next right step? For just today, it puts me right back into the present, and that to me is so, so, so empowering.
Good questions, great questions. This final piece of advice sort of surprised me. You want us to go out and play.
I know, but just hear me out on this, okay? Because everything is energy to a point, right? And you think about that, and if I'm feeling the experience of I feel stuck, I feel frustrated, I feel discouraged, that's kind of a downer energy. Go play, lighten up, right? Get out of the heaviness, the seriousness. Take yourself to a movie, go to lunch with a girlfriend, right? Get outside with the kiddos, go to the park, do something that just lightens the energy, because sometimes, again, why we're feeling so stuck or heavy is we're in so much seriousness. And what you're wanting, and I don't know if this happened to you, but sometimes if I take a break from the quote problem and I go play or I go serve someone, I get focused doing something else, it's like, oh, that insight will often come, or that awareness, or those things will drop in, and I'll just, again, back to feeling renewed, like, okay, I'm good.
Isn't that amazing when you're not focused on it, hyper focused on it, or you're not, marinating in that feeling? Oftentimes that's when the levity or the lightness or the inspiration comes. I like that. Tiff, thank you so much. Where can we get more advice from you, sister?
You can find me at tiffanyspeaks.com is my main hub, or Tiff Peterson on the Instagrams.
Great insight and programs there. We'll link you from our website. Thanks again.